Is Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammed a guaranteed decision, or are we in for a surprise? Before we get into that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So, Fight Week is here, and UFC 304 is this Saturday. Mark and I are going to go over our predictions for the main card. So, Mark, let's start with the main event. We have Belal, remember the name, Muhammad versus Leon, hide the bald spot, Edwards. What's your prediction for this fight and why?
I'm going to go Leon Edwards by decision. I think he's going to be able to do just enough, like he did in his last fight, in order to secure this victory. I don't think he's going to want to take any risks. I don't think he wants to risk losing his title at all in any way, shape, or form. He's going to do just enough. He's the champion, and he just wants to retain at any means necessary, whether that means putting all the fans to sleep at 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's almost a guaranteed snooze fest, isn't it? And like we've said before, it's such a shame for these UK fans watching this fight at 6 o'clock in the morning live. I mean, shocking. But I think I'm following you, Mark. I'm gonna go Leon Edwards by decision. I think he's just as fast, just as strong as Belal Muhammad. He's a better striker and his grappling's just as good. And he's also got the home advantage in this case. So I just feel as though all the advantages are in Leon Edwards' corner. And I just think he's going to get the decision win. I just don't think either guy is going to be chasing for that finish. So they're just going to coast a win.
Sadly, I think that seems to be the case. But like you said, just with those tools that are equipped in Leon Edwards' favour, I think that's going to give him just that little bit of an advantage in order to get this done and get his hand raised. Like I said, though, by any means necessary, and by that I mean a decision. I think Belal could have his hands tied behind his back, and I don't think Leon would go for the knockout. I think he'd still just want to jab his head off, try to inside leg kick throughout 5 rounds, and I think that's almost guaranteed. I think there's definitely going to be a betting slip with my name on it. Fight to go the distance.
Yeah, it has to be right. I mean, that's free money, isn't it? Bet the house. I think what I'll bet the house on it. So I'll either become a millionaire or I'll have to divorce my wife. So basically win-win for me, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's a shame because the narrative around this fight is right, it's gonna be boring, it's gonna be a decision. But right, do you expect anything else? Like, there's not going to be a finish. Sure, yeah, maybe Leon might get like a big flash KO like he did with Usman, but is that likely going to happen? Does lightning strike twice?
Well, this is going to be the almost like case in point of the second Leon versus Usman with the big knockout, where you resided yourself just to a decision, and okay, yeah, you're kind of half watching, you're looking down, texting on your phone, that kind of thing, cracking another beer, that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden, bang, this just happens. It's possible because it is, a UFC fight. But then that will be the surprise of the century. Similar to that same fight with Usman and Leon, though. Can you remember much else definitively from that second fight? Because that outshines everything else. So if something does happen, we'll all of a sudden be, oh, it's King Leon Edwards again. He's King Leon. Let's get him up on his shoulders. Let's march him down Buckingham Palace. But that's only if he gets that knockout.
What do you think happens, Matt?
I don't know.
Do you think Leon Edwards gets coronated as the king after this? Like, if he wins, we're taking him down to Buckingham Palace, kick Charles out, and he's the king. Is that how you think this goes?
Yeah, just place him on there and just give him his title. I think though, if he does manage to get Belal out of there, not only fans of exciting fights, but Dana White himself will be pretty happy. I think it's pretty evident that Dana didn't want to give Belal any kind of title shot. Why? It just saps your funds, it saps your money. Like, why would you want him as your welterweight face? It just doesn't make any sense business wise, does it? Surely.
No, yeah, and the trouble is with welterweight, especially that right at the tippy top, it's real decision makers, isn't it? It's blokes who just go straight to the decision, and it's hard to sort of be a fan of this division. But there's some good names coming up, and I think that's the big problem for Leon because he doesn't chase that finish. It's hard to be a fan of him, right? And I think he's going to struggle to maintain a fan base. But someone I'm a huge fan of is England sweetheart Tom Aspinall defending his interim title against Curtis Blades. Mark, what's your prediction for this fight and why?
Tom Aspinall, round 2 finish, I think. I can't go against Tom. I think he's going to be cautious with Curtis because Curtis is a great fighter and I'm a fan of Curtis as well, but I can't go against my boy Tom. I think, obviously, this is him reclaiming that technically a loss against Curtis. He wants to come back with a bang. He wants no one to falter his spot of, right, look, you are the interim champion. You are next in line to fight John Jones. So on paper, whether that happens or not is another story entirely. But I think he's going to be so crisp, so careful. Similar to Leon Edwards' position, except Tom, he's got bricks fans, doesn't he? Drowning them in petrol every day. He says, toughening his knuckles. That kind of, I think he's just going to come out, and I think he's going to be able to get maybe even a submission. I might even go for that strong a submission win against Curtis Blades. And that would speak volumes.
Definitely. And I think what's funny, with that whole petrol thing, I think people have taken that a bit too seriously. Like in the interview, it's clear to me that he's winding up Ariel, and I was like, "What? You been for real?" And he's got like a big smirk on his face, and he's clearly trying to hide it. I think people just take things a touch too seriously and don't quite get that sort of
it's not part of the game plan. It's not part of the reason I'm thinking, he's going to do it. It's sat there just punching grit, something like that, just to toughen his knuckles up. I doubt it's really happening, but just
he's going to come out, his hands on fire.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Like some terrible fight night game. Just got gloves on fire, that's it.
It jazz up the card for sure. But I think my prediction's obvious, right? I'm going to go with Tom. But Curtis Blades is a difficult fight for anyone. Curtis is strong, he's fast, he's a great grappler, he's got fantastic striking, but it doesn't matter. Tom Aspinall is stronger, he's faster, he's a better grappler, he's a better striker, and he's got finishing power. I think Curtis Blades, unfortunately, is going to get absolutely battered, and I'm going a second round KO in this one.
It's honestly justified. I think people still don't believe in Tom Aspinall. Even after all the accolades that he's done, people say, he's only got one name on his record, and that's Sergey. You got the scariest dude in the division that everyone was on the train for until Tom derailed it. Yeah. Doesn't matter what happened after that. Tom derailed it on 2 weeks' notice with a bad back as well. In 60 seconds or so, wasn't it? This is Tom Aspinall. This is the new breed of heavyweight that we were talking about, and it is Tom to a T. It's pretty much describing his exact fighting style. I'm not even trying to hide it. I'm a Tom meat rider, but I'm so happy that we've got such an exciting fighter from the UK. It's been too long, to be honest. And again, I'm not even including the champion Leon Edwards in that. This is Tom Aspinall. Because you've watched his rise though as well, haven't you? And it was just exciting, banger after banger, finish after finish. Finally earned his place, worldwide fame now. Now you're on the main stage of an actual UFC card. This is, this is only his second time co-headlining it on an actual numbered card. Put a show on, prove to everyone that Stipe doesn't belong there fighting John Jones. It's just you.
100%. Tom Aspinall is that guy, isn't he? He is, I think, pound for pound, the best fighter in the world. I think he is massive. He's strong. He's fast. He's technically able. I think he's the guy to beat, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to beat him. But saying that, heavyweight is so dangerous, right? This can be over in a split second. If you've got a guy who weighs 260 pounds swinging at you, if he connects, it's all over, right? And that's the scary thing about the heavyweight division. You can't just write off Curtis Blades because it's just 1 second it can be all over, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I might just be making my prediction more with my heart than my head. But Curtis does have all the tools to become champion. He's faltered a couple of times, but he genuinely does. I just think Tom has them, but a little bit better. Yeah, that's purely my reasoning.
Yeah, that's 100%, isn't it? He's got everything that Curtis has, but way better. And so it feels like, okay, everything's in his court. He should get the win here. But, technically, Curtis Blades does already have a win over Tom Aspinall. Do you think that's going to play on Tom Aspinall's mind in this rematch?
No, I really don't. I think it's going to have the opposite effect. We thought that it might play on his mind, holding up the co-main event for the previous fight. We thought it might play on his mind coming back against Marcin Tybura with his knee. This just happens to be the guy that he kicked and then ruined his knee with. It's just another guy. I think he'll all this mental preparation. He'll have done this all prior to the training camp. Well, as soon as he signed the contract, I think all that is done. I don't think we'll ever see Tom falter in the octagon about anything mental, like any sort of
Yeah.
mental image or frightening thoughts that he's got. I don't think it's ever going to happen. He's one of the most well-rounded. You look at what he's been through just the past few years, his rise to the top, the unfortunate accident, the comeback, winning the gold. Now he's got to get through Curtis. After that, there's nothing else for him but the title.
Yeah, it has to be, right. He has to fight for the title next. There is no doubt in anyone's mind. There's no more excuses for Dana White. If Tom Aspinall gets through Curtis Blades, he deserves to fight John Jones. But I just don't think John Jones is very keen. And just sort of going back to that, the rematch between these two guys and the loss that Aspinall's had to Curtis Blades. Even though not technically is a loss, but nobody really feels that way, do they? I think with Tom, yes, I think you're right. He's strong physically and mentally. So it seems like this is not going to play on his mind too much. But my main concern is I think Tom is going to come out and try and get that vengeance, try and right this wrong. The fight that never was, the fight that was 15 seconds. And I think he's going to chase that finish. And I'm concerned if he's chasing for that finish, is he going to leave himself open and get caught? That's my main worry.
Break my heart though, Dwayne. Don't say that. It would absolutely rip my heart in two if that happened. If I could, if I seen Tom Aspinall get finished, it would just do me.
Yeah, it'd be horrible, wouldn't it? I think I might cry. So, if you're around, check out our live stream. You might see two fully grown men in tears. And then, Mark, we move on to the false monarch, King Green versus Paddy Pimblett, Dana White's new favourite toy. What's your prediction for this fight and why?
Honestly, I think Paddy will submit him. I think Paddy will submit Bobby Green. I can't call him King Green, Dwayne. He just can't do it. I think he's because he's a decent striker for his age. He's a decent striker as well, and he's a decent fighter. We all know that he's probably not going to be champion or going to be in line to fight the champion at any time soon. But he's doing enough just to be kicking around now. This is Paddy breaking into the top 15, and I think he's got the tools available in order to do it. To be honest, Paddy's faltered a little bit, but I mean, you look at what he did to even Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
We'll just avoid Jared Gordon talking about that fight altogether. But what he's done before that, and he was a champion in the previous organization. I think Paddy's got all the tools in order to get this done. He's a young, up and coming fighter. And I don't think he'll want to risk standing with Bobby Green because he's genuinely really skilled stand up. But takedown wise and then submission defense, I don't think he's going to be there for Bobby. And I think Paddy's going to be able to get it done and get this win secured.
Yeah, 100%. I'm in total agreement with you here. And I know I'm going to get a lot of grief for it, and a lot of people are going to give me some crap, but I think Paddy Pimblett is going to absolutely batter Bobby Green. I think from pillar to post, he's going to completely dominate this fight. The age difference is so big, and I think the skill difference is actually very wide as well. Yes, Bobby is great on the feet, but I don't think his grappling's particularly all that special. And I think Paddy is going to keep going on this Randy Orton run and go for this legend killer sort of persona he's getting. And I think he's going to get Bobby Green out of there within 2 rounds. I think it's going to be a rough night for Bobby Green. And what's strange is, I think, like you were saying before, yeah, Paddy faltered with that Jared Gordon fight. And one bad performance does not write a fighter off completely, but it feels as though the MMA fan base has written off Paddy. And I'm not a fan of Paddy, to be honest. I don't really care for him, and I'm not particularly interested in seeing him fight. But I just find it strange. You have one bad performance, one bad fight, and that's it. All of your skills are written off. Everyone just talks about him like he's a nobody. He had a good run coming into the UFC. He had some good fights, and yeah, one faltered fight. That's it. And he put on an excellent performance against Tony Ferguson, and I think he's going to put another one against Bobby Green.
Well, that seems to be the issue with MMA community in general, though, doesn't it? The MMA fan base, they're so ready to close the door on people and just call everyone out who's been exposed. And you think, look, one loss doesn't indicate that your entire career is just a shambles, does it?
No.
And well, not even a loss technically, is it? But one, like you say, bad performance, it doesn't just write everything else off that you've ever done work for in your career.
Yeah.
I think too many people are ready to close the door. It's too many people behind a keyboard, to be honest, just running their mouth off. That's all it is. They would never ever get into the octagon. Neither would I. But in regards to, we're trying to be fair and balanced, trying to call it exactly how we see it with the facts that we do have. But I think too many people are just in a knee-jerk reaction straight
Yeah.
away. No, he's no good. He's none of this. He's none of that. You're like, he's a young fighter that had a bad night at the office and still got the win. Whether you agree with it or not, that's what's happened. Boxing's got bigger robberies than that weekly. Now, just tune in and see what he does next, because I guarantee if he got a spectacular knockout over Bobby Green, these same fans have then been meat riding Paddy. Oh, he's the best ever. Well, just forgive that Jaron Gordon fight. It's just too swap and change. You can never really pay that much attention to the MMA fan base on the internet, because they're just people with avatars as profile pictures shouting into the void. That's all it is.
Yeah, they really are, aren't they? And it's unfortunately such a shame. It's this constant flip flop, isn't it? It's what have you done for me lately with the UFC fan base. People forget about everything else, and it's such a shame. But it is what it is. Now we move on, Mark, to the British Dagestani himself, Mohammed Makayev versus Manal Cap. What's your prediction for this fight and why?
I'm going to go for Mohammed Makayev, just because, I mean, I think just time in the octagon is probably going to do him so many favors, to be honest, compared to Manuel Cap. I have seen what I have seen of Cap, and he puts on a great fight when he actually shows up.
Yeah.
But the British Dagestani, I know you're a big fan yourself. I'm probably going to hazard a guess as to what your prediction is. But I'll let you have it. Let go on.
I'm gonna go Mohammed Makayev by decision. I think Manal Cap fights too emotionally. I think yes, he's great ever. He's a good grappler. He's a good striker. He's very explosive, but I think he's going to be chasing for the finish all the time, and he's going to make this too personal. He's going to come after Mohammed and try and knock his head clean off. And I think Makayev is going to stay calm in that octagon and grind a decision win. I know people aren't a big fan of Makayev's fights and they find them a bit boring, but he does what he needs to do to get the win. And I think it's going to be a repeat here. I think Makayev is going to get this job done.
Well and truly possible. Isn't it funny though? How when it's not for the title and it's just in a bit of a dead division, like flyweight, we go, well, he does what he needs to do to maybe get the decision. Might be a bit boring, but yet Leon Edwards were like, he's just dull, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think it's because of what's on the line, isn't it? The stakes that are on the line. Like, yeah, sometimes you need to get these grinding wins and you need to do that. But when you're at the top of your game, you need to put on entertaining fights. You can't be boring. And like, at least, with grappling, you have to be vying for the finish. Don't you? If it's just lay and pray, it's boring, right? Nobody's interested. And I think the problem is Leon Edwards seems to make lay and pray possible while striking. It feels like he just stands there. He's like nothing's happening. I'm like, come on, do something, do something. Like Simpsons with a poke in the poke in the body, do something. It's just a joke. But
Stop it, he's already dead.
But let's go back quickly to Cap versus Makayev. Do you expect Cap to even make it to fight night? I think in a year, Cap's had 5 cancelled fights. Do you think he's even going to make it to the octagon?
Well, it's bad news, isn't it? But you just grow not to expect him not to show up, or to expect a late replacement fight. It is a poor do. But you get to know fighters, don't you? And you notice patterns and things. Similar to any time Paulo Costa fights, you're like, well, is he really? Wait until he gets in the cage. Or when Conor McGregor makes an announcement, you're like,
Exactly
enough
right.
talking, boy. We've had enough now. But that's me. I mean, whether he fights or not, I won't lie. I'm not too bothered for this weight division in general.
Yeah.
I think it's run its course a little bit now.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because, like I said before, with this division, when I actually watch the fights, I'm like, wow, these are good. Everyone is so skilled within this division because I think they need to be because it's difficult because they're so small, they can't rely on their physicality. They have to rely on their technique. But the problem is, it almost doesn't mean anything. Like, whoever gets a win here, I'll probably get a title shot. You're like, right, okay, another undeserving person gets to fight Pantoja. It makes it so uninteresting, doesn't it? You just don't care at this point. And
Yeah.
it's a shame because Pantoja's super active as a champion. He's ready to fight all the time. But it's just hard to care about him and his reign and this division overall, isn't it?
It seems to be a little bit like do you remember Amanda Nunes' division?
So yeah.
I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the discontinued one,
Featherweight.
where
Yeah, female featherweight.
someone gets a jab 3 consecutive jabs all in one go, and then you go, oh well, the next fighting for the title, and you've got to look up on the UFC app who this person is,
Yeah.
which is sad because, like we said before, we've got lives. You can't watch every single main event. There's some people, again, in the MMA community who could probably reel off every single person in the flyweight division, the entire roster of the UFC. And you think, we don't have time where we'll just do a quick search. We'll have a look at the last fights. We'll see what this boy's all about. Why is he getting a title shot when he's ranked number
Yeah.
11 or something? It's just silly.
Makes no sense at all, does it? And there's
No.
apparently rumors that Pantoja is going to be fighting a champion from another organization, which is interesting, but that almost never happens. And I think it's because this division is so lackluster, they try to spice it up a little bit and bring something interesting. But now, Mark, let's move on to someone who you and I are very interested in. Our boy, Arnold, the almighty Allen, will be facing off against Giga Chikadze. What's your prediction for this fight and why?
I'm not going against Arnold. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's genuinely got all the tools to make it happen for himself one day to become champion, because he's faltered a couple of times. Again, that doesn't define you as a fighter. Arnold Allen is a fantastic fighter. He's still very young, and I think he has the ability to get this done. And on a big card where majority of the UK will be watching, fight fans, maybe even in the North America region, he has an opportunity now to get himself right back up there. Because you look
Yeah.
at his last fights, like even the one against Max Holloway and that, he was in it all the way. Yeah, it was a decision win for Max, but Arnold was in the fight all the way through. What did you think?
Definitely.
What do you think? It was your prediction.
Yeah, I'm going Arnold Allen by decision. I think Giga's a great fighter. He's good everywhere. He's very well rounded, but so is Arnold Allen. And I think the trouble is Giga's going to be, I think, 36 by the time this fight actually happens. I think that age difference is going to be a big factor in this. I think Arnold Allen is going to have the stamina and the pace and the physical strength and the speed to get through this for 3 rounds and in a dominant fashion as well. And I think that's a big problem, isn't it? Arnold Allen has had a couple of stumbles, but it almost feels like a bit of bad luck. He faced off against one of the best fighters on the planet in Max Holloway, and there's no shame in losing to someone like that, someone with so much experience. And I think if Arnold Allen can get that experience and keep training and keep grinding, he can be at that level. And I really, really hope he does well, and then in his fight afterwards, again, I think there was a bit of cheating happening in there, and he could have quite easily got the win. It's just the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you just the dice rolls wrong for you on a night, doesn't it? It's just how it goes. So I think Arnold Allen is going to get the job done.
Well, there's times, isn't there, like as in with Arnold Allen, I think he's been in the main event more recently than Giga has. So
Yeah.
that you don't have off day when you are a pure athlete, surely. But just in regards to training for 5 rounds, you think, right, it's only 3 rounds. This might feel like an extremely short fight now. Let's come
Yeah,
in, give it his absolute all, and he might even be able to get the job done. I hope he does. But I'm probably going to go Arnold Allen by decision. I think he probably will course to decision. We've been very decision heavy in these predictions.
yeah, it is a lot of decisions, isn't it? And that's a bit of a shame. Hopefully we're wrong, and hopefully it's KO after KO after KO,
It
and
is
you and I.
Northern Lights, Dwayne, so we'll be wrong every single time. Don't worry about it.
But if we get plenty of finishes, you and I can be tucked up in bed. Well, not you and I together. I don't know how I've said it like that. As the
Let's just move swiftly on, eh?
like Morecambe and Wise sketch where they're in bed together making their breakfast.
Just kicking your wife out of bed. Go on.
Come on, make room for Mark.
Yeah, yeah.
But quickly, let's start talking about
Yeah, a
fights
bit
again,
weird.
very, very quickly. So with Arnold Allen losing his last 2 fights, though, do you think he needs to secure this win here because a third loss in a row is no good for anyone, right?
You look at the fashion in that he did lose those fights, though. Very, very close fight with one of the best in the world, like say Max Holloway. His last performance, like you say, could have gone either way. I don't. Someone like Arnold Allen, with the resume that he has, I don't think they're going to be too cut happy.
No.
You've got a little bit to go yet before. Don't get me wrong, he won't have the string of luck that Tony Ferguson has. This is going to be his 8th loss in a row, isn't it? Pretty soon.
Yeah.
But in that respect, that I think Arnold, he could do with it. He absolutely could. Otherwise, he might just fall into obscurity. One of those where, he was, because we're always rooting for the UK fighters, but he was in the UFC and he never quite made it to that absolute top level. Obviously, you want them all to, but it just doesn't happen. I think he could really do with this if he wants to save any time in his UFC career in obtaining the gold.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with Arnold Allen, yes, he's definitely not going to get cut if he loses to Giga, but I think it can really knock his confidence. I think 3 losses in a row, that's when you start to get that territory of losing your confidence, and then you start chasing the finishes, and then you end up getting caught. And we've seen this time and time again, and it's such a shame when that happens. But I think Arnold Allen's going to get the win here, so I don't think it's really going to be too much of a problem. But there is a lot of stakes on the line for Arnold Allen here. And there's a lot of stakes on the line for this entire card, whether that's rankings, titles, or title opportunities. And that's been our prediction for UFC 304. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.